Hi Flosstube and welcome to my home. My name's Amanda Mae of Ardith Design and I can't believe it. It's almost Halloween. So it is October 2022 and I wanted to show you some of my recent finishes, fully finishes, and just show you some of the decorating I've done in my home for the holiday this year. My two favorite holidays ever are Halloween and Christmas time. So we are going to decorate. Well, we're going to decorate for Christmas starting November 1st, but until then, it's Halloween in my house and I'd love to show you what I've done and how I integrate cross stitch into my designs and some of the little crafts that I have done. I got a request to see my sandworm craft that I made in honor of Beetlejuice, the movie. 1980s film, love it. I made a craft and I'll show you just a little brief tutorial on how I made that sandworm, as well as how I did some of my fully finishing for some of my projects. So I can't wait for you to see all of it. Why don't you follow along with me in my home? I'm not going to show you every square foot of my home, but I'm going to show you some of my vignettes and areas that I am most proud of. All right, come on down.
This is so exciting. This is my finished skeleton crew by the Cricut collection. I had been stitching on this on and off for 3 years using a Sulky thread, 1 strand over 2 linen threads. The linen is called Cauldron, and then I framed it myself using a thrift store frame. So here is the night that I finished it.
Okay, this is my before. I just got it at the thrift store and I'm going to put my new cross stitch in it, but I want to spray paint, or I'm going to use my new airbrusher and see if I can make the frame look really cool. So yay, here goes nothing.
I took the glass out of the frame, everything out, and then I used this crud cutter, the degreaser, to clean the wood and prep it. And then I used my new airbrusher and I went over the wood with black, and then I did a bright neon green and a purple and layered it, and then tried to make it look really kind of distressed and grungy to kind of mimic the look of the skeleton crew fabric, that cauldron look. I didn't want it to be really beautiful frame. I wanted it to look kind of funky, like Halloween, or just kind of grungy. That's genuinely how I wanted my frame to look. So again, I went over it with black and then wiped some of the chunks off and then did purple and green. To get my piece ready, I used Best Press and I got my iron set on the linen cotton setting, dry iron, no steam, and then my ironing board has a towel on top of it, and I am pressing down gently across the piece. So I ironed it first and then I sprayed Best Press, and I sprayed it about 12 inches away from the piece, just like the misty spray, and then I ironed it down again. And the Best Press took out all of the really big creases and wrinkles. I stitch in hand, and so there were a lot of creases from holding it in my hands for a while. So I ironed it. This is all done on the back of the piece. So you can see I've got some pretty tough wrinkles over there on that side that I'm trying to gently get out. I don't want to smash my stitches, so I'm not pressing really hard on the stitching surface itself. But I am trying to get this as nice as I can before I stretch the canvas. So I'm going to stretch this on an acid-free piece of board, and then I'm going to use just a 12 weight white cotton thread and like a size 22 upholstery needle or 22 tapestry needle, and I'm going to lace this, and I'm going to use some sewing clips too to help get all my edges all nice and straight. So it took a long time for me to lace this, and I used a bunch of thread. But I did not want to pin this piece. I laced it. It took a while. This is my biggest piece I've ever laced, but it turned out so well. I'm so happy with the way it looked. And I cut my backing board, acid-free backing board, to size for my frame, minus like a 1/32 of an inch on each side to compensate for that extra, the fabric being wrapped around. So here's the final look. I love it so much. So I put it by my mirror wall, and it's a focal point for this season. Up here is a thrifted acorn. I got this. It's a needlepoint piece, and it's been sewed, stitched with a quilted border. This is a witch that I found at a thrift store, and she's got a little mini felted pumpkin, and I love her little shoes. I'm not sure of the maker of hers. This is one of my autumn wreaths that I purchased, and then I have that like spooky cheesecloth thing from the dollar store over on the back of that window panel. Here's one of my newest finishes, and I used just a metal piece and rare earth magnets to stick it down. Here are some of my iron collection, my pampas grass bouquet, and my melt glass vase, and I love it. So, these are solar lanterns, so I have to leave them outside during the day to charge, but they're absolutely amazing at night. They're my favorite light. They're like, they look like a flicker, like they mimic real candles, like blowing in the wind. And then those actual candles there were given to me, a gift from Sally. Thanks, Sally. Okay, here's my baker's rack. As you can see, I've moved my candles around. Here's my newest finish. I finished this in a 9 by 12 frame, and I got that at Michael's Crafts, and then I also stretched it and put it together. And I tried to make some crepe paper flowers and just doing some general decorating. The Fall Friends there is one of my new finishes. It was out of the 2022 Just Cross Stitch magazine. That was a little witch that I found. So there's that Fall Friends. I just stitched it this year and finished it in a 4x6 frame. It's on a 32 count linen. And I've got a frame down there. It's a menu from Thanksgiving dinner on the ship on World War II. So this is the Prairie Schooler Hocus Pocus that I stitched. I started it in March and finished it later this summer. I absolutely love it. Oh, there's Loki Pug. He's on my stairs, and then I just put some garland and some lights. I've got real dust there in the corner, it adds to the mystique of the holiday spirit. So there's Loki Pug. And here at night, I have these jack-o'-lanterns that I put up. They are not there all the time. I'm going to move them back for Halloween night when we do trick-or-treating. But they are LED lights inside there with a remote control. Then I can switch all the different colors and stuff. So those are super fun. And then my kids' artwork is up there on the hallway. I've been making a gallery wall with their stuff. So that's been super fun. All right, here we are going to my mantle, and this is one of my ceramic Christmas trees. My kids, we found the lights to make it like more of a Christmas, not Christmas, but Halloween. So I'm really happy we got to put that up. I got the candelabra there that I put the pumpkins on. I got that at a thrift store. This is Birds of a Feather. It's a piece I finished last year. It was only half the piece. I didn't do the bottom half. This is Cottage Garden Samplings Dream. Felted pumpkins from the Annie's Creative Woman or Farmhouse Style Kit Club. That is sampler from Barbara Anna. And then there's the Edgar Allan Poe piece that I did, one of my first things that I designed. It's like the grave of Edgar Allan Poe, and there's a crow and a raven there. And then Home Sweet Haunted Home, that was in, I think, the 2020 issue, Just Cross Stitch Halloween. Apart But Ever in My Heart, that's by Lindy Stitches. Love that piece there. Apart But Always in My Heart. This fall piece, it was a thrift store find, and then I finished stitching the border and then got it set there. It was a found piece. Trick or Treat here is by Barbara Anna. This was in the Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine. I'm not sure if she's released that now for you to get outside of the magazine. And then I have my recent Prairie Schooler finish. That I also laced and got that done. And then there's the Barbara Anna, one of her pieces. I want to say that was one of her freebies during 2020. So here's my mantle. And I really love, as you can tell, I love Barbara Anna's stuff. All right, so here's my candy bar area. I redid the bar front this year with that black and white, and it reminds me of like Tim Burton's Beetlejuice. Here are some of my finishes. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm showing you my candy bar right now. So I've always wanted like a little candy bar for the kids. We have the mini jukebox there. It's like a CD player, a radio, and it's also got like the Bluetooth enabled stuff to listen to music. Here are some pieces that I have thrifted. So, and then that's Barbara Anna the Light. Oh, I'm coming over. I've got cookbooks here, but that Love to Stitch, that is artwork by That's So Kelly Co. I love that piece. I frame it, kind of move it around the house. So there is the light. It's by Barbara Anna. And then the two pieces next to them are both thrift store finds that I washed, cleaned, stretched, and got them set. The sunflower there is a punch needle pattern that I did a few years ago. I designed it and punched it. Oh man, I've got a bunch of good stuff here. So I've got Official Candy Inspector that I finished. This is by Top Knot Stitcher Abby Jones. This is Cat-O-Lantern. It's by Bent Creek. And then the cow with the UFO, that was a freebie by Jira. She's the Japanese cross-stitch designer. Official Candy Inspector was in this year's just cross-stitch Halloween issue. And then all of those pieces in the basket I designed and stitched myself. So Create Magic 24/7 365 and the bouquet, both of those pieces are not published. Those were some of the first things I ever designed as a designer. And then the Autumn Floral Urn, that was part of the collaboration for this year using the Cottage Garden threads, the overdyed cottons from Australia. Visiting my candy bar area. Next, I'm going to show you the tree that I put up. I collect little jack-o'-lanterns, love them, and then I use some outdoor patio string lights to put in, and that's what's lighting up those jack-o'-lanterns, and I decided to put my sandworm on this tree. I did not pull out all of my holiday decor this year, so this is just some stuff that I just kind of pulled together and put on my tree. I love Halloween, but I couldn't get to my decorations this year for a lot of different reasons. So my tree is sparser than I'd like, but I love it. It's super fun. We got the eyeballs at the dollar store, and I spray painted some of the skeletons a silver color. And then here is that sandworm from Beetlejuice. I was hoping to make this whole tree Beetlejuice themed. That didn't happen this year, but there's always next year. So I've got some other fun little ornaments, and I'm going to do the sandworm here for you. So I was testing out this cordless hot glue gun, and I was like, what kind of project do I want to do? So I had some felt, and then I grabbed a bunch of shipping boxes and different poly mailers and stuff to use, and I used a lot of crepe paper. I bought the crepe paper, the streamers, from the dollar store, so I got that, and I have the pipe cleaners. They're like a glitter, a bright kind of fuchsia pink glitter, and then I've got red pom-poms for the eyes. So this right here, this is the center of the sandworms, that first tongue. I'm using some wire from an artificial flower bouquet in the center, and then I wrapped it around with that poly mailer, like an Amazon poly mailer, and then wrapped the strips of the black crepe paper. Here I'm making that first mouth hole, and I cut it with shipping cardboard. I added the poly mailer for some bulk, and then the felt, and I started wrapping that around, and then I stuck those two pieces inside that pool noodle I got from the dollar store, and then I started wrapping and just hot gluing down the black crepe paper to get that secure. So there's that first mouth and the tongue, and then I made the patterns for the second mouth, and I repeated the process with the red or with the pink felt, the poly mailer, the cardboard, and then I got the crepe paper there, the streamers again, and I'm going to wrap those in my hands. I'm cutting the teeth out with that poly mailer. As you can see, it's the Amazon ring, the the new Hobbit show that they're talking about, the Lord of the Rings show. So I just used it as is, wrapping and gluing, and then I got a bolt. I was gifted a bolt of white velvet upholstery fabric. I know, a whole bolt. I said, yes, please. So I cut off a section of that. It's like a cream white velvet, and I'm using that to wrap and just hot glue all the way down. I cut that noodle into a third, so it's not the full length noodle, and I'm just rolling over that fabric, gluing it, and then I'm going to add that crepe paper around to make the stripes. I made the little fin of the sandworm with just cardboard and wrapped it with crepe paper. So as you can see here, this is all just hot glue, crepe paper, and supplies I had around my house. The eyes turned out really well. I love those pipe cleaners. The kids had them in their craft section, and so I absconded with some of those to do that. And then that cute teal green crepe paper also from the dollar store. So I'm really happy with the sandworm. It took me a while to make, but I want to say it took me about 2.5 hours to make altogether. But it was worth it because I've always wanted a sandworm, and now I've made my crafty dreams come true. So here's right after I finished it. I filmed it, and then obviously it's on my tree now and not in my candy bar area. And those are my jack-o'-lanterns that I put on my staircase that you saw earlier. I just set them up there. I love jack-o'-lanterns. So I want to thank you for visiting my home and seeing some of my decor from this year. Lots of DIY, pulled out my holiday stitching. I keep all of my stitching in banker's boxes indoors where the humidity is consistent so they don't get any water damage or humidity damage. I label each box, like this one was specifically autumn Halloween, and I pull out all my stitching, and when I'm done, I'm going to wrap it back up with my acid-free paper and put it back in the box for next year. Thank you again for touring my home. I appreciate you so much. Remember that you matter, your stitching matters, and have a happy, happy Halloween. Take care.